Welcome to the first episode, the first installment of our album reviews, which we don't have a name for. I think one thing before we even jump into this that I wanted to say that I think we both feel is that this is not like us telling you what to think of a certain album or us rating a certain album or like trying to give objective feedback on like I don't know, even things like instrumentation choices or like vocals or anything like that. Like we almost certainly will talk about those things, but it's not meant to be like in an objective way where it's like, this is really good or this is bad or I hate this or like you should think this of this album or something like that. This is literally just us subjectifying music in our own opinion, just being like, hey, like this is what we think of this album. And I guess, yeah, like one of the main reasons we wanted to do it this way is because A, we don't think music should be objectified. It's art. It's for everyone. Everyone has different tastes.
We're not trying to give it a rating that you should think, it deserves. We're just giving our personal opinions on it. So
two is we obviously have listened to a lot of music in our lives, but we love albums. Like we write albums. When we write music, we think album first. And we've always kind of been that way. And yeah, we love the album, the way albums tell stories. In saying all that, we haven't listened to a great deal of albums from like start to end. At least more, I guess less than what we would like to have listened to. So we've heard a lot of these artists that we'll be picking in this series. We've heard multiple songs by them, but maybe even a lot of songs off these albums, but not like the album sitting down, listening to it intentionally from start to end.
All right, so the first album is going to be, I guess it's a band that we've really loved for a long time, but we've kind of gone in waves with them. It's My Chemical Romance, as you've probably seen by the title, but...
All right, we're back. We had to switch rooms because it got really hot and sweaty in that room. It's just like all windows, and it was like, I don't know, like probably like 30 something degrees in there Celsius. So that was happening. And then for some reason, maybe the camera got too hot too. I don't know. It just stopped recording randomly. And we didn't notice that it stopped recording until about 10 minutes of footage had been filmed. So what we did in that time was we listened to Romance and Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us. So we'll give you a little rundown on our thoughts on those two songs, and then we'll go in and listen to Vampires Will Never Hurt You, the rest of the album.
So this is actually MCR's debut album that we also found out during that commercial break. It came out long before, well, not long, I guess, but a few years before The Black Parade, Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge, and Danger Days, which was their latest album, or one of their last ones. And I was saying how all their albums usually have storylines. Like Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge is a pretty intricate storyline about a couple dying and the guy coming back, or the guy dying and coming back to basically want to be back with his love and making a deal with the devil to do so. And then Black Parade's about a dying cancer patient, his journey through everything. And so like their albums always have these deep meanings. I don't know if this one yet has anything. I haven't looked it up because I do want to kind of listen to it first and see if I pick up on any theme. But
I guess that's also a good point too. Like one thing we forgot to mention in the intro is we really think you should listen to these albums first before watching this video. So if you're watching this video and you haven't listened to this album from start to end, or at least all the songs in some order, please do that first, because I think it's really important to form your own opinion before you listen to us give our opinion. Because I think, what was it, our friend Sawyer sent us a thing on the Fantano effect, and basically like how our perception can be drastically altered based on other people's perception. So if you like haven't listened to this and formed your own perception, it can be really easy to be swayed into like, this album sucks or this album's amazing based on what other people, especially if it's like a well-renowned person like Anthony Fantano or like some album reviewers that are like trying to give their objective opinion. This album's great, this sucks, this is an 8 out of 10, this is a 2 out of 10. Like if you listen to that and you're like, I really love that album, but this person said it was a 2 out of 10, so it must be shitty, my opinion must be wrong. That is the last thing we want. Like, fuck that. Like, that's not what this is about. So yeah, listen to the album first if you haven't.
Starting off with Romance. We both said that kind of sounded like almost like Fable or like the video game or some kind of medieval quest.
Like cobblestone streets and like.
So I don't know if they're setting up something with the album. Also a very gutsy move, in my opinion, on a debut album to just come out with that kind of, you know, it doesn't sound like punk rock at all. It doesn't sound like emo rock. It doesn't sound alternative. You don't really know what you're in for. And if that's the first song you're listening to, and again, this is when like CDs were only a thing and tapes, so you couldn't really like stream music and listen to albums randomly. Like this is probably one of the first songs you heard from MCR. Gutsy move. And then it jumped into Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us, which I said had really cool bass tones. Michael picked up on the bass first, but it does actually have really cool bass tones, and it sounds a lot more like old school punk rock than almost anything else that MCR has ever released, I feel. It has that like really punchy, trebly bass with a really warm tone. I found like in a lot of MCR's later albums, the bass gets buried a little more. I guess that's just a mixing thing too, but I don't know, it just sounded almost a little bit AFI-like or a little more like old school punk rock style bass, which was cool, unique for them. And then we also both said that it's almost like a quintessential MCR song. Like if you want to know what MCR is, all wrapped in one, it's this song. Also, cool fact is that like the song is basically like what their name is. The song's a metalcore influenced song about consuming antidepressants and alcohol. And I know Gerard Way said that, you know, My Chemical Romance is kind of being like dependent on chemicals or having like a romance with chemicals, drugs, those kinds of things. So it has their name built into it, and it has almost every facet of MCR it all wrapped into one.
Also, to contextualize this, is like this came out in 2002, so like this is not an album that came out last year when you'd be like, this has kind of been done before, you know, the typical intro song, the typical, you know, like that MCR sound. Like this is them developing that sound, and we were only I guess 11 when this album came out, so you know we weren't into bands like this at that point, but like I feel like this is kind of paving the way for a lot of those genres that became popular after that. Like 2004, 5, 6 were like the big emo punk, pop punk wave of music. It was kind of like pop heavy before that. This kind of pushed into like a darker territory for music, at least like mainstream music. So I'm sure there's a ton of other albums that have done that too, but this kind of is like, thinking about that, I was like, wow, this album is pretty, for its time, was probably pretty revolutionary in terms of like, you know, its sound. And I guess it, you know, it also never made it super mainstream as much as like the Black Parade and other things. So could be a reason too, you know, it's just a little ahead of its time. But yeah, I'm excited to hear the rest of this album because I think it's going to be very like much their sound. They didn't really try to be somebody else right from the beginning. So that's very, very cool.
There we go.
Vampires Will Never Hurt You. All right, we're going to headphone this. Yeah, I definitely heard this song before. It's really cool. I feel like that's one of those songs that if I listened to it like 10 more times, it'd be one of my favorites. Like I can see it growing on me. Yeah, other thing I said was cool. I was saying to Mark while the song was playing was like, it's cool how in this, like, he does it in future albums too, but maybe more so like in the Black Parade over like Danger Days and stuff. But he's a little like anti-melodic. Gerard, he's not really like singing per se. He's more like, can you tell me what it's more almost like a speaking singing, which is really cool because it's like, it's again, it's so different and it's not really like, he's a pretty good singer in my opinion, Gerard, but like he's, you know, he never claims to be like this amazing vocalist. So he's got this cool way of like projecting his own feelings and emotion into the song, which is done really well in that one, but also like not having to just try to be something he's not, which is like, you know, this crazy talented vocalist. So I love that. I love the vocals in that song. I love the kind of anti melody that's going on. Is a little bit more like chaotic throughout the whole song. So yeah, I just think that, like I said, that will grow on me the more I listen to it.
The drums are super tight in that song too. What's interesting is Michael and I, we were talking about other songs before we started doing or decided to do this style of content. And we were saying how when we listen to songs, we almost listen to, which we never even thought of it before, but we almost listen to different sides of the same song, I guess I would say. Like Michael's very much listening to the melodies, the vocals, the guitars, like the what the guitars are doing. If there's multiple guitars, what each one's doing, and I'm almost tuned to listening to the drums and the bass, like the rhythm section. And I mean, if you guys know anything about us, even if you don't, like Michael plays guitar and sings mostly, and I do the bass and backup, and we've done that for like 20 plus years. So I think our minds, our ears are naturally just tuned to listening to different parts of the same song. And so it's cool. Like we can hear different things. He tells me things that I don't know exist, and vice versa. But yeah, drums are super tight in that song, and it's. I guess the drummer it wasn't Bob then, was it? Like it wasn't
the other guy.
Yeah, I forget the other guy's name, but the guy who's drumming with them now, I think, on tour. That's him. I mean, really good, solid rhythm section in that song too.
Yeah, it is cool how there's so many songs like this one, but so many other songs included that Mark is like, hey, have you heard the bass in this? Like the bass is doing something so cool, and he'll play it for me. I'm like, it was totally lost on me in the whole song. Like I was just listening to the song as a whole, or maybe more the melodies and guitars, and he was like, oh no, the bass is doing this, and like does this crazy thing. I'm like, holy shit, like I never even knew the bass was doing that. And it's like he's not maybe actively listening to it, but it's just like natural. So it's weird. I don't know what the brain neurology stuff is on that, but it's pretty cool actually. So maybe he'll be talking more about like rhythm and bass section. I'll be talking more about the other sections, but we'll see. We're just trying to take everything in as a whole. And we did lose the headphones because it was really warm and we wanted to get up and move around as we were listening, but we're still able to get the good feel of the music, even though the headphones are going to be the best. We'll just make do with the speakers we have here. So,
all right, drowning lessons.
Drowning lessons. Let's go. Instantly, I love the guitars. That intro guitar in this. I wasn't expecting the fade out in that song. It's really cool. Okay, I just want to quickly say I love how much it changes up. Like there's so many differing tempos and beats going on. That was really cool. The intro was really cool, and it's cool I revisited that right at the end. It sounded like it was the end, and it kicked into this like 15-second thing that just faded out. Like very, very unique style for a song.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. Again, this is like Wikipedia, so it might not be legit. Probably not, but it sounds like it could be. They said it's a song where the band explores the question of mortality. Also a very MCR thing to write about, so it could be. But they said while it was never fully disclosed by Gerard what it was about, it seems like it's about a man who either kills his lover or witnesses their death and must relive the experience over and over again. Again, I think that's like 90% of MCR songs involve death in some way. And I know Gerard said he was like fascinated by it, or in some interview he said like just fascinated by death and like what it means and everything. And so it seems like I know he's really into comic books and everything too, and like acting and a lot of stuff involving like, the world of, I guess, make believe. And yeah, he seems to write from that perspective a lot too, and just like death is not the end, and and he looks at it in a different way than most people. So the other thing that I guess I would say about the song is like based on these first 3 or 4 songs, it doesn't seem like they definitely are not writing for catchy melodies. Like this is not a pop punk band coming out and trying to write really catchy melodies in the early 2000s. Like all these songs so far, it's been hard to pick up on like where the song's going. And they're not written it doesn't seem like they're written for airplay or written for like MTV or anything. They're not, and maybe that's why this album didn't go mainstream like the others. But they're all really good songs. It's just like that hook is not there, like that traditional like pop punk, whatever.
Yeah, singable, like sing it back to me.
Sing it back right away on the first listen is not there, which is cool. I mean, like again, they're not writing to please anyone but themselves. And yeah, I think that's like very commendable. Whatever. Yeah, it's very like cool. Yeah, it's cool. They're standing their ground. They're not trying to sell out right away and like just get streams and get I guess not streams back then, but just sell CDs. They're like, you can tell they're writing about really dark stuff, and they're writing about stuff that probably a lot of bands in that genre didn't write about. I mean, it seems like a lot of these songs are like bordering metalcore, a little more like heavier rock metalcore. And Gerard's always said like he doesn't classify them as an emo band, and he didn't want to be associated with that. So I don't know what their exact like genre was they were going for when they first started, but it's it's definitely not like made for radio play. I don't think they wrote for fame in the beginning for sure. Our Lady of Sorrows. It's like metal again.
We just finished Our Lady of Sorrows. That's another banger, and I just love again like the pop 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 pop, the heaviness of that song is the staccato. It's so angry, that song is, and I'm actually just getting the lyrics up for all these songs now, which I should have done from the beginning because I find it so much better to read the lyrics as I'm listening, especially if you want to know what the song's about. But yeah, that one just like quintessential like metalcore, straight to the point, angry. I know they don't like being called emo, but angry emo kids, just letting it all out. That's what I got from that song.
Yeah, what's really interesting for me, like, I was not expecting this album. Like, when I saw this was their debut album, I was not expecting, like, metalcore, hardcore, punk, heavy like this. I know a lot of bands start that way, like, when they're in that this realm, but, like, I don't know, Gerard came from, like, a background of writing comic books and, you know, kind of being the outcast and like, doing more, like, theater stuff, didn't he, too? Like, I don't know, he didn't strike me as someone that was filled with this kind of, you know, right from the beginning, like filled with this kind of angst and everything. And yeah, like, I mean, music wasn't always in his like veins either. It was kind of just, there's a whole story about that too, but like he wanted to be involved in comic books and everything and then screenplay. So like, it's just so strange or interesting, I guess, to hear this being their debut album. Like, again, this song, I looked it up. The song is about revenge. It uses metaphors like to reference dark forces that led to Gerard begin writing stories. So yeah, very dark.
Okay.
Next.
Very cool. Headfirst for Halos. And that's the cool solo at the beginning.
It's a cool title.
Okay, cool. Headfirst for Halos. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start? Now we've migrated to taking our own notes. So I'll just say really freaking cool guitars. The riffs, like the bump bump ba da da dum dum, that like really really cool. Tempo switches, I love like the double time to half time in the chorus, or like vice versa. The breakdown in the middle with the clapping, like I'm a sucker for claps, especially in a breakdown if it's in like a tasteful way, like in punk songs like that. I love that kind of like, you can just see it being played live type of thing. And the last note I wrote was, how have I never heard this song and why don't they play it live? As far as I know, they don't play this song live. I don't know if I've ever seen a video of them playing this song live. Maybe it does exist, just haven't seen it. But man, that is a cool song. Yeah, so many good parts to that.
I feel similarly. It's probably not my favorite song on the album, which is funny because when the intro kicked in, I felt it was like a Queen style intro. It was very big and loud. And that's what they've almost been known for, is this crossover between punk rock and like almost like Queen. Like their guitar solos and guitar style is very similar to like old school rock. And it felt like that, like the traditional MCR, big Queen sounding intro. And then it almost turned into like Dead, like their song Dead. It sounded very much like it transitioned to that intro. And then the outro was really, really cool. I like the last like 20 seconds of the song. The rest of it, I was like, it's okay, but it didn't grab my attention. But I mean, it seems like it has like a cool message. Again, like it's talking about like the dangers of ODing on drugs and I don't know if you're allowed to say the S word on YouTube or not. So like unaliving yourself. So it definitely has like a deep message. So again, like I'm not knocking the song in any way. I like that they're just writing from the heart and writing about these topics and not thinking about making them like, you know, ready for airplay on MTV at the time. Next.
I've also heard this title before.
Yeah.
Skylines and Turnstiles. Love the intro right away. Okay, I said I love the intro once again. I love that little stop before the chorus. Like everything just cuts and Gerard comes in with his line. Other than that, I said nothing else like super memorable for me. It wasn't like my favorite song on the album. I have heard of the song before, not probably listened to it, but I've heard the title. But yeah, it didn't really stick out to me as much as some of the others. So yeah, that's all I kind of got from that one.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the rest of the album is going to go, because I feel like even though these songs are all really good, like after the first 3 or 4, there still hasn't been like a melodic switch up yet. It's been a lot of fast, hard. I mean, that's just probably the nature of this album and the nature of the band they were at the time. But there's a lot of heavy hitting, fast, hardcore songs back to back to back to back. How old were they when they wrote this? I wonder, because like musically, it's very good. It's very technical, like very skilled musician, and like or musicianship, and the vocals are so good. Like they're experimenting a lot with different styles of vocals, and there's like so many little intricacies in each song, like a lot of stops, and like Michael was saying, different little like stops and goes and stops and goes, and like everything sounds so tight. The songs are amazing in that way, but like they're not, I guess, like stream made for airplay or radio play, or not designed for it. And there's a lot of just like hard hitting, fast core, hardcore punk. I guess you'd call it punk, like back to back to back. So I'm curious to see if the album will switch up at any point, because I mean they do have the ability to write this stuff, because even the first song, what was it, Romance?
Romance.
Romance. It's like that started off like in a completely different ball field. So yeah, I'd be curious to see where it
he might have. I think he was 25-ish when they wrote this album. So
cool.
Still very young. So very cool. Let's see. Early Sunsets over Monroeville.
Oh, now it sounds like it's switching up.
See ya. What do you think of the song? What do you think of the song?
Yeah, so I did look this one up too. It says it was inspired by the 1978 horror film Dawn of the Dead, telling the story of a group of lovers attempting to survive the apocalypse. That was one thing too. When I saw that, Gerard said he's written a lot of songs based on movies. And I think in an interview he said something like, "I probably like and the outsider in that, like a lot of my songs are inspired by movies," or something like the majority of musicians don't write songs about movies, or I write way more songs about movies than most musicians, something like along those lines. So that's no surprise that this is probably about that. The vocals are so crazy in this song. It's like they're so raw and so emotional. Like this is probably going to be one of my favorites, just because of the fact that it actually did slow the album down a little bit. I love the title, love the lyrics, and the vocals were like, in my opinion, just on a different level than a lot of everything on this album, but even like other albums.
Yeah, I wrote vocal effects are very cool. It sounds like he's in a metal cubicle. That's cool. And then guitars sound like intentionally thin. Like there's a bunch of delay and that echo on his vocals, but then the guitars kind of have this like accompanying thing where it sounds like they could have been recorded in the same space, but also like this thin sound, which is definitely intentional. I'm thinking anyway, because the rest of the album doesn't sound like that. So yeah, it's a cool vibe for that, and the guitars. It's more melodic than the rest of the album, I think, in my opinion. Just like there's more you can kind of grasp onto from a vocal standpoint. And then to me, it reminded me of Ghost of You, which is an MCR song off of which one is it? I guess it's Three Cheers. It had that same melody, in my opinion, or same like kind of carrying like wavy melody. And I also, last note was I loved how it got more deranged at the end. It just seemed like he was like cracking and breaking and kind of going a little insane at the end of the song, and then the music cuts and he's just like almost speaking or yelling, but it stays quiet, which is very interesting. So anyway, that was a superb song, and I think it's done a good job at separating the album. Even if the next 3 songs are a little harder, that was, in my opinion, probably more necessary to put that song somewhere there in the middle, to just like break it up a little bit. Interesting name. This is the best day ever.
Okay.
It might be satirical. We'll see. What does that sound like?
I'm not okay.
Yeah, I'm not okay.
Every hour, on the hour.
The only note I had for that song was, why is this the title? Because I don't know. Like, I read the lyrics and maybe Mark can Wikipedia it, but like I maybe maybe it was just satirical. I don't like they don't say that line, I don't think, and it seems very dark like the rest of the album. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite song. It's probably honestly my least favorite song of the album so far. Kind of short, but yeah, I mean,
It says it's about the idea of trying to break free from everyday life, and features additional vocals by Rickley. So I don't know who Rickley is or where his vocals came in.
maybe backup. I don't know. Maybe he did sing and we just didn't notice it. Maybe he has the similar
Yeah,
voice.
sure.
as
I
Gerard.
listened not knowing that because I don't think I've ever heard anyone else sing in MCR songs. I know
Yeah.
Gerard Way has such a unique voice that he can do a lot of different things with, like we talked about with Mama, and I mean like some of their newer stuff on Danger Days, and then like some of their older stuff like this screamo stuff. Like he has a lot of range and variety in his voice, so I probably wouldn't have even noticed if he unless it was like blatantly different than the vocals. But now I'm gonna feel stupid if I hear it back and like, oh yeah, that's obviously not him. But yeah, same here. It wasn't my favorite, but the musicality side of it is so tight, like you can't argue that. So
Cool. Yeah. All right, let's go on
Cubicles.
to Cubicles.
You outside is sterile, and I'm only too cute now to photocopy all the things that we could be if you took the time to notice.
Cool. I think like I only had a couple notes for this one too. It's like cool that it's a little more heavy again with like some of the or I should say it sounds a little more heavy metal with some of the breakdowns and the screaming toward the end of the song. So that was kind of cool. I'm not personally like a big metal fan at all, but I do like that they throw in their own like little style piece of that every so often. So that was cool. To me, it kind of blends with the others. Like I'm not really sure how it's like on a first listens basis anyway, like how it extremely differentiates from the other songs. I was just looking at the lyrics, and one other kind of side note that I thought was kind of funny was that I'm on genius.com looking at lyrics, and it shows how many people have viewed lyrics to every song on this album. So I'm assuming it probably like correlates with popularity of the song too. Early Sunsets over Monroeville is actually one of the highest, or maybe the highest on this whole album. Demolition Lovers, actually the last song, is the highest. That's second. But it's funny that Romance has 31,800 people that looked at the lyrics for the song, including myself now, and it's an instrumental. So I thought that was kind of funny. Cubicles was good. Nothing else really to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, even Wikipedia doesn't have much to say about it. They said the 10th song on the album is Cubicles, and that's it.
All right, let's go on to Demolition Lovers. I'm excited for this one because I think I've heard this song before too. I just don't
it's
remember
like
it.
I think it's like 6 minutes long or more too, so
Okay,
that should be interesting.
let's start it. Oh yeah, I already know I heard this song before.
This trunk of ammunition too. I'd end my days with you in a hell of bullets. Trying.
I see what sticks out a little more. It's kind of like a mix of multiple songs. It's almost like a good blend of like their entire album in one song right at the very end. I will say now, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I did write down lines number 1 and 3 of the song, like in the first verse, saying hand of mine into your icy blues, and then also with this trunk of ammunition too. I love the melody of that. It's honestly probably my favorite like melody of the whole album, and those two lines, especially the with this trunk of ammunition too. That's just like such cool writing, and just like I just love kind of those like flowing melodies, and this one kind of like felt like that, just like floated right into the song so nicely. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had with this one, but I think that would be another one that if I listened to it like a handful of times, it would be another favorite of mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is almost like 2 or 3 songs in one. Like I don't know if it's even fair to call it one song because it changes so much that it's there are two when that stop hits around like the 2.5, 3 minute mark, and it changes to the next song. It's not even. I mean, I'm sure I haven't read all the lyrics. I don't know if it's still talking about the same thing, but melodically and style wise, they're 2 very different songs. I like how they did that to end the album. Again, very bold choice. One thing I thought was cool was I was looking at the lyrics, and it says, "Then I'd say to you, we could take the highway. with his Trunk of Ammunition 2, I'd End All My Days with You and A Hail of Bullets. And it's interesting that that's the last song on the album. And then the next album after this one was 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, which is an album about how the lovers, like the guy and the girl, you know, get in a gunfight, the guy dies, the guy makes a promise, like I said at the start of the video, with the devil to kill 1,000 souls to be back with his lover. And this seems like this is where this song is pointing to. So I don't know if Gerard had that idea in mind when he was writing this, or if he just built off that when he moved into the next album. But I mean, it was 2 years between these two albums. So I don't know. I don't know if that's something that is like a known fact. I guess I could Wikipedia it. It does say that, actually. It says Demolition Lovers has been tied to the concept of the band's next studio album, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, which loosely follows the story of two separated lovers that can reunite if one of them kills 1,000 people. It also has been considered representative of the band's future grander scale recording. So yeah, well, maybe it's like a bridge album, but I'm sure they didn't know that at the time, but it's cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I can see why it has that maybe more cult-like following. Like, just right at the very end, I went to look at the YouTube comments on this video and or this album, and like everyone that's there loves it. I assume that's probably like most albums. You're not going to go and listen and comment hate on it. I mean, maybe some people do, but they need better use of their
Trolls.
time.
Trolls.
Yeah. So yeah, I just, it feels like My Chemical Romance from start to end. It didn't like, and not in a bad way, but it didn't surprise me in the sense of like there were certain things I wasn't expecting, and they did like, you know, a country song or like a, you know, pop song or something. Like everything in this album feels like it belongs in this album, and it's cool because you can hear their evolution from this album to 3 Cheers to the Black Parade, and then like the big switch to Danger Days. So yeah, I mean, like, a super solid album in my opinion.
I don't know if, like, I didn't go into the album listening to the album with any kind of preconceived notion of what I thought it would be. I just think I didn't think it was gonna be so hard hitting and so heavy. I guess I maybe more expect it to be like 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, or, you know, maybe they gradually moved from lighter stuff into a little bit darker, but this stuff almost seems darker still than even like some of their later stuff. So they definitely kept with the theme, and this gradually maybe like hovered around that level of darkness for a while for the first 3 albums anyway. But this one's definitely way more heavy hitting and way more metalcore, hardcore punk. I don't know what you classify. I'm not good at classifying genres of music, but I think it falls somewhere in those categories. Definitely their own style, but you can definitely hear nuances of their, like the Queen guitar solo stuff, or like the layering of guitars, or some of the vocal things that Gerard was experimenting with. Like, that has carried through all their career. So it's cool to see how they evolved from that album.
Like we said, we're not rating this album, but our friend Sawyer once again gave us a cool idea of just being a little bit, I guess, like tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, and just saying this album is something like 8.5 melons out of 3 kittens. That's our rating system on the Sawyer Hoffman rating scale, so thanks for that suggestion. Yeah, if you guys have any ideas for albums that you want us to listen to, not only would it be fun to do a video on it, but like we are always constantly looking for inspiration for our music, and I think it's just cool to broaden the horizons and broaden our reach and our listen. And yeah, it's just, there's so much good music that I think we just miss out on because, you know, we hear the popular songs. We don't ever give, like, a lot of times as a society, I just think we don't give albums a fair shake, and we just don't listen to them all the way through, and we should, because they tell a story. And this is a great example of that, where there is definitely a theme and a story running through the whole album, and certain songs actually fit better in the context of the album than just standalone. So again, we love albums to death. This was a fantastic one. Good job, My Chemical Romance, on your first your rookie
Debut
album, freshman release. Absolutely banger.
6.2 plushy cow dog toys out
That's
of,
so much louder than I thought it was gonna be.
out of 2 radio stickers, ripped up radio stickers. What do you say, Sia?
What's your rating? What's your rating? What's your rating? If you love the album, say goodbye. Say goodbye.
Bye.